Bitcoin is still struggling to get that breakout, but there's one thing in particular that I'm watching to see if we can end up getting a big breakout. And I'm going to be breaking it down for you in this video because it is absolutely critical, and it's all to do with momentum shifting in the market. Because the thing that I want to draw your attention to right here with this pattern that we've been watching, a lot of people are looking at this pattern, right? And I just want to recap this very quickly for those of you who have missed it. But of course, if you're subscribed, you're going to know all about this. It's just, we've got these patterns that Bitcoin has been forming quite consistently in this market over this last kind of year or so, although even much longer than that, where we would kind of trade into a rising wedge pattern that looks a little bit like this and then drop down, right? And we did it again right here, and we're forming it again right here. And the thing that's important about this, what I don't like to do on this YouTube channel is just show you the chart pattern, tell you what usually is going to happen, and then say goodbye. I mean, a lot of people will do that. They just don't really have a deep understanding of what's going on in the market. I want to go a level deeper with you right here. The reason that this is important is it shows us, the momentum, the bullish momentum behind the bulls and the bears. And more importantly, it shows us if that momentum is changing, right? If we had a trend line that looks like this versus if we have a trend line that looks like this, that's going to show us a little bit about where that ceiling is, right? I mean, if our trend line is flat like this, our ceiling isn't moving up at all. If our trend line is slanted like this, our ceiling is moving up. There is a little bit of bullish momentum, right? This is something really important to understand, is when we form these continuation patterns that usually break down, it still is a chance for the market to break up, right? The market can actually use patterns like this and pump massively higher from them, right? I mean, we've done this before. We've done it many times. Let me see if I can find you a great example right now. I think, to be honest, one very good example was what happened with the market right here, where we had something quite similar. And look, this one very easily you could say was going to break down. We kind of already formed something a little bit like this previously. We already had that consolidation, broke down, then we formed a much larger one. We could have easily broke down again. But what's important to note is that these things can turn out to be bullish breakouts. And I think a lot of people just blindly think that that's not the case. I don't know why. Look, we had another one right here. This one was really nice. I actually traded this one inside of VIP, pulled a huge profit in the market back here. So many different instances of similar patterns like this, some of them breaking down, some of them potentially breaking up. And the key thing that we need very simply is to stop setting slightly higher highs. I spoke about this in a previous video, so shout out to those of you who are smashing up those likes and staying subscribed to this YouTube channel. You're already going to know about this. But the key thing that we've been having in this market right here is, let's just read the highs, right? The market punched in a high right here towards the end of July, 20th of July, on at 24,250. The next high that we set, 24,400, so about $200 higher. The next one, a further $200 higher, a further 300, roughly the same, and now a further $100 higher. We are punching in higher highs, but they're not significantly higher. They are broadly, we are broadly just setting slightly higher highs. I'm sorry, I can't speak. We're broadly just setting slightly higher highs in this market. But what I want to see is that momentum shifting so that we can actually, axe this, and we can show that we've got a little bit more strength and start setting some significantly higher all-time highs. Higher market highs right here. Or trend highs, I should even say more accurately, because we can keep punching this ceiling higher and higher and higher, and this line is going to, just carry on forever, right? I mean, we can draw this out, and we can just keep on hitting these highs, and eventually we'll end up hitting $100,000, if we wait long enough. But the thing that we need to see is that, we get there a little bit faster. We need to see a switch here where this ceiling actually doesn't hold Bitcoin back anymore, and I think that this is really important because when we start to see this kind of breakout, if we take a look at what happened back in 2020 with this March coronavirus market crash, guys. Look at this. As soon as we actually ended up punching above this ceiling, let me just replay the chart so I can zoom in nice and close, and we take a look at this trend line with a little bit more accuracy. See, we had this resistance area right here, this resistance line. It was definitely holding the market back a little bit. It was as soon as we were able to get above this line and stay above, this is a 4-hour time frame, right? So we got above this line, and then we managed to stay above for, a good amount of time, a little bit over 2 days. Pretty decent time frame there. It was as soon as we were able to get that bam, the big move came in. This is a sign of momentum finally shifting to the upside and shifting in a very, very meaningful way. We haven't had this yet. And until we do, we're not going to be able to get a breakout. We're just going to consistently be setting slightly higher highs within our trend, but it's not really going to do anything for the market. And the problem is that if we stay in a situation like this for too long, or if we do it for, similarly, if we do it for a long enough time frame, well, then we start setting patterns that look a little bit like this. See, we're just setting slightly higher highs within the market, but nothing substantial enough. And so eventually, because we can't push our ceiling, we end up dropping down, right? Take a look at this. We weren't able to push this ceiling. We weren't able to push this ceiling. And so eventually the market has to test the downside. I think this is a really important thing that people just tend to miss, right? When you test the upside, if you get rejected, you have to come back down and test the downside. And if you get rejected from there, then you're in a range. Then you're in a sideways trading range, and you enter some consolidation or whatever. But when the market finally starts moving, it's going to be because these ceilings start getting broken. And I think this could represent a big shift in momentum. And the thing is because this pattern has gone on for quite a while now, I honestly think it could turn out to be quite explosive. We're on day 60 to 62 or a little bit less, depending on how you draw this. It doesn't really matter. A bloody long time, really, to be stuck in a pattern like this. And if we are going to be getting a breakout to the upside, I think because of that, it could be very, very explosive. Now, what I am finding somewhat concerning is just all of these rejections, guys. This is a potential triple top situation. Bitcoin just cannot seem to get above this level right here. But the important thing to keep in mind, and I honestly don't think that people pay enough attention to this type of thing. Here we are blowing my camera up. The important thing to keep in mind in this market, in my opinion, is quite simply that when we are trading at these highs and we're not able to punch above that ceiling, really what we're doing here is we're exhausting supply. There's a set number of Bitcoins that want to be sold at these price levels, at the high 24K, low 25K area, right? There's a certain amount of people that want to sell a certain amount of Bitcoins at those levels, and as soon as that supply is absorbed by the market, that's where you have no more excess supply, but you have the same level of baseline demand, and bam, you can get these prices moving up. One of the things that I'm quite surprised by consistently in these markets is that when we get big pumps, people tend to think that everybody is buying. It's not the case, guys. I was talking about this very vocally when we were rising up. Of course, nobody wanted to listen to me back then other than a select few of you who were subscribed. So shout out to those of you who were part of that group. I was actually specifically pointing it out on this rally, which I did not believe in up until the very end. I did end up believing in this rally up until right over here. That's where I thought maybe I'm wrong. That was annoying, because if I stuck to my guns for just a few more days, I would have actually turned out to be very, very much correct. But if you were watching the channel, and this is the thing, is I'll happily admit my mistakes as well. I consider myself a pretty good analyst, but I make mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes, and that's just part of being an analyst. But this is one of them, and you know what? That's totally fine. I think it's okay. As long as you're on the whole kind of trending higher and so on, then that's what's important. And I don't want to dive too deep into that, but that's the kind of thing that we talk about inside of 𝗓𝗡ly's VIP that we really dive very, very deep into. So if you want to check it out, bam, follow that first link in the description down below. It's gonna look something a little bit like here, this first link right here with steps to join VIP. But let's just bring it back to the chart now. This is a situation here where it's not really that many people were buying Bitcoin at all. If you take a look at the volume down here, just look at the volume moving average, this orange line right here. Volume was very low. You compare the volume to where we were on these run-ups right here or on this sell-off right here. Volume was very, very low during this rally. Yet it was one of the most explosive rallies Bitcoin has ever seen. And if we measure it, this was within 20 days a plus 64% gain for Bitcoin. I mean, it's big. It's a big gain. Perhaps not ever, not that Bitcoin has ever seen, but of course within the last couple of years, it's a really, really big deal. But you can see that this was primarily just driven by very, very little volume. And what does that tell us? We can actually draw some pretty easy conclusions from this. It just tells us that people were not selling. That's it. The price can jump up very, very high. Let's keep in mind, guys, the last trade, this price we see, the price that we see for Bitcoin is the last traded price, right? That's the price that was last traded for Bitcoin. So if there aren't many Bitcoins exchanging hands and suddenly people decide that they want to buy Bitcoin at like $50,000, okay, fair enough. You do you. It's completely your camp what you want to buy a Bitcoin for, and that will spike the price up to $50,000, but that doesn't then mean that the next person wants to pay 50K or 45 or 38 or 30. It might just be that we drop right back down. And by the way, when we look at scam coins like Here's a good one right here. Some of you may have heard of it. But we look at scam coins like XRP. This is exactly what we're seeing here. Is that, well, in this case, there was a little bit of volume, but there's many examples where there isn't actually a lot of volume. Here's a good example right here. There's not a lot of volume on this. It's just a bunch of idiots that just want to be really, really hopeful that this pump is going to turn into this pump. But obviously what we end up seeing is that there's no real follow through here because nobody actually gives a shit. And so eventually the coin just drops back down. Not even eventually, very, very quickly the coin drops back down. And that's what happens when there's a little bit of temporary exuberance, but it's able to take the last traded price up. And as long as you have that exit liquidity, you're going to be okay. Because one of the things that we are seeing right now in this market, and again, we have to wait for this to update within these next 3 hours, but I am still a little bit under the weather. One of the things we are seeing right here is now finally a neutral reading in this market, showing us that people are actually quite bullish in this market. Well, I don't want to say bullish, but they're certainly not bearish in this market anymore in terms of sentiment. And we're seeing that reflected with coins like Ethereum, guys. I mean, Ethereum was just really, really blowing up. I was giving you guys a little bit of analysis on Ethereum just in the last video. It started to take a little bit of a leg down. It's not anything concerning at all. Ethereum against Bitcoin as well, just dropping by a little bit. Look, none of this stuff is making me think that Ethereum is going to be in deep trouble now or anything like that. But we are for sure seeing a real shift in sentiment. And again, I just want to make sure that we're keeping in mind that we are still in a bear market. We haven't actually gotten out of the bear market. We, to get out of our bear market, to set a new realistic macro higher high, we're gonna have to get above at least this high at 33, if not this high at 48. And we're just nowhere near doing any of those things. So, absolutely not out of the woods by any by any stretch right now. I mean, we're still firmly in quite dangerous territory as far as I'm concerned overall. But we are seeing sentiment. I would actually argue, catching up a little bit too quickly. Moving up a little bit too quickly there. But what does that mean for the short term? Not a lot, fortunately. It doesn't really matter for the short term. We do still have this trend line. We do have a situation where we are potentially exhausting supply. And the thing is if we're able to stay high up in this range, and you can see we are just constantly testing the top of this range. I mean, if I draw a support line to show you what the support area looks like, we haven't been down at the support level for quite some time now. The last time that we visited the support area was the 26th of July. And in that time, we've ended up testing our resistance once, twice, thrice, and 4 times right here that we've tested our resistance in the same time that we tested support only once. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, is that, this market absolutely is in a situation where we are looking to be a little bit more biased to the upside right now, which is fantastic because it means that if we are going to be getting a breakout, it could turn out to be quite an explosive one. And, a lot of people are saying things like, $28,000. Well, one thing that I think quite passionately is that if everybody is aiming for $28,000, for example, which makes a lot of sense because obviously this was where, we were getting some quite strong areas of support. We even got a kiss of death right here where the market fell below this area and then dropped down quite a bit. These are important things to keep in mind for sure. But, what I'm a little bit more interested in is, well, if everybody and their nan is looking at $28,000, well, then we're probably going to come shy of 28 and then drop down, or we're probably going to overshoot 28. And then, whether we drop down or find support, I don't know. We're going to have to see what this leg looks like first, if we get it, of course, because nothing is guaranteed. Personally, the more we're seeing this develop, I am becoming a little bit more bullish, to be honest. I do think we could just, fly right past 28. And the reason I'm saying that is, like I said, everybody is expecting it. I think a lot of short positions might end up getting entered in around these levels as well. And also, just like I said, given the fact that we have been in this kind of range for 60 days now, I mean, if we do get a breakout, we're already pretty high up, right? I mean, we're already, banging on the door of $25,000. So, I have to expect that a next move could turn out to be quite an explosive one. There are still things that concern me. We take a look at the long and short ratios across the market, and actually, oh wow, we're not doing too bad today. We have seen a nice shift here. Binance, for the first time in a while, is actually majority short. Bybit still majority long, and FTX also majority short right here. So that is a good sign. I want to see how the sentiment updates. Hopefully we start to drop by a little bit. As long as sentiment is fragile, and as long as This is the thing, guys. I pointed this out on this little drop right here. Everybody lost their fucking mind on this drop. But I was just saying, guys, we have support. You know what I mean? It's pretty straightforward. I don't know why people panic so much, although it's a good thing because, of course, that's what makes it easy for the rest of us traders to navigate this market. But one of the things that I've always been pointing out is, when we're getting these, quite small drops, or even in this case right here, I mean, this was basically just $800 down, a 3.2% drawdown from a resistance level as well. I mean, it's really not that bad at all. We are getting people now just seeming to exit their long positions, and if we start to see that this reflects in the sentiment, where sentiment drops down by quite a bit, well, that is something else that I'm going to be keeping in mind as well for where this market might be headed. All of this painting a very, very fruitful trading range. So you guys know the deal. If you want to be getting in on Bybit, which is the only exchange that I've been using pretty much over these last couple of years, then check out the link in the description down below. It's going to be right here. Get over $4,000 by signing up to the main exchange that I trust with my trading activities. And when you follow this link, it is going to take you to a page where I give you a tutorial on how to claim these bonuses. And guys, this tutorial, I made a video on it, this tutorial video right here. This tutorial video is 2.5 minutes long. And at the beginning of this video, I'm not even registered to Bybit. So I'm going to show you exactly how to register to Bybit, how to follow all these steps, and then get your bonuses. I put a black screen on here because I don't want to show you the details I've registered with. But of course, I did manage to get an account, and bam, I'm in right here showing you exactly how to get your bonuses, over $4,000, and a list of other benefits, plus some very cool products just from me as well. So check out that link in the description down below if you like getting free stuff, if you like getting free money, and if you want to be trading on the same exchange that I trust with my trading activities. With that though, I am going to be heading off. I still think that we're in a good position overall in the short term. Long term, obviously still in a bear market. I shouldn't have to say these things, but I'm just reaffirming my positions anyway. And still, very, very excited to see where this market goes. There's a couple positions that I'm eyeing up. I'll be sharing those details into VIP when I decide to pull the trigger on one of them, and I've already been keeping them up to date on what I'm seeing anyway. So there you go. If you have enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Smash up the likes, subscribe, click the bell, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.